we persevered, for a long time, and it would be kind of shitty to stop now before really accomplishing what we want to do. We want to make a little bit more of an impact, I think.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
How are you? My name is Rick Habeeb. I'm in the band Gray Skies Fallen. I've been on before. How you doing there, Adrian?
Not only have you been on before, I think you are the most regular guest on the blog and the podcast.
Nice. I mean, we go back, man. We go back.
We go back to 2013, I think.
Yeah.
I think the first
Sounds
time
right.
we spoke, the first time you were on the blog was 2013. The first time we spoke on the podcast was not long after that. It was episode 9, so still in single digits.
Oh.
And, besides Gray Skies Fallen, we've talked about your other projects like Buckshot Facelift, Brave the Waters. I guess it was about a year and a half ago that we got together again to speak about Working Aura.
Yeah. It was. Time is flying. Year and a half went by like that. And here we are doing this with Gray Skies. But yeah, 2013 was right around the time we kind of I don't say reactivated. We were always active, but when we kind of got our shit together with Tom on bass, and we got our guitar player Joe Sanchi at the time. He played on 2 records with us, or 1 record and a 7-inch. But that's right around the time we started getting our stuff back together again, getting a full lineup. So that checks out.
And I think there was a big lineup change around that time, right?
At that point, the previous EP we had done is 2012's Introspective, and that was done with just myself doing all the guitars, Craig on keyboards, and Sal, the drummer, who's been in the band forever. It was just us 3. And so after that, we really wanted to get a second guitarist again, and we needed a bass player. So at the time, I was just starting to jam with Buckshot Facelift, and Sal is also in that band. So it was pretty easy to get Tom to come in Gray Skies because we really hit it off musically pretty early. So at that point, we also got Joe Sanchi, who was he also played in the band for a little while in the early 2000s. He didn't record with us at the time, but he was in a band called Mantis Mass after us, after Gray Skies. He did Mantis Mass, which is a sick band. Anyway, yeah, so we had started getting our act together around 2013 with the new lineup. And since that time, there's been more lineup changes. There have been a few. So it's always fluid in this band, it seems,
So the first time you were on the blog, I asked you to describe Gray Skies, and you described Gray Skies in 5 words. And what you said was doom, black death, but not. Is that still true?
It kind of. I mean, I was asked similar question today and the other day, and I used doom, and they asked me to use a few words, and yeah, doom, black death, but not. Yeah, I mean, there's all those elements in the new album. I don't think we're a death metal band or a black metal band. People might not even say we're a doom metal band, but I always, when people ask what we are, I say we're a doom metal band. But I mean, there's so many versions of doom. There's so many, who knows, whatever. We're a metal band, but yeah, I kind of trailed off there.
I think we spoke about the Peaceville bands being a big influence on Gray Skies, at least in the early days. Yeah,
at the beginning. My Dying Bride, definitely. The Angel in the Dark River is probably still my favorite metal album, most influential to me, because I had known those guys, material from Turn Loose the Swans, and I knew the first album I had from tape trading, but Turn Loose the Swans mostly. And, once I heard Angel in the Dark River, it was kind of like a switch went on in my head. And Joe and I had been jamming for a few years before that, but we kind of got serious right around 95, late 95, right when that album was hitting the scene. Big influence, definitely. Anathema too. I really like the emotion in their music. The huge, they have a huge sound to them, airiness kind of melodies, and I like that kind of stuff. And Paradise Lost, they run the gamut. I didn't like their Depeche Mode phase, but everything else everything else from them. But yeah, those bands were big in the beginning, definitely.
I mean, in the New York area, were there a lot of other doom metal bands? Because I can't really think of many besides Typo.
Well, Evoking, who's the big funeral doom band. I mean, they've been around since the early '90s. I guess they go by Jersey, but John, he and I grew up together in Staten Island, so he's a Staten Island guy, New York, and Chris, who was in that band, also was from Staten Island. So Evoking I look at them as a New York band, but they might say they're a Jersey band. And at the time, Chris, who I just spoke of in Evoking, he was in a band called Divine Silence, and they were a local band. But when My Dying Bride played in New York in '97, Divine Silence got to open that show, so that was huge for them. So they were on the scene for a few years. They actually put a record out in the early 2000s, also. But Typo was, yeah, like I always consider Typo like Doom. Their shit was so slow, and like I saw them play a 15-minute whatever it was slow plotting Doom song, and at the end he goes, "That was Sunshine of Your Love from Cream," and I was like, "What the fuck?" It didn't sound anything. It was just so heavy and so awesome, and I saw that. I think I've seen Typo more live than I've seen any band ever. I think I saw them about 12 to 15 times, which was a lot. Because, I would go see them every time they would hit local, they would play Lemoore all the time, and they start playing bigger venues, and, love Peace Steel. Also saw Carnivore a few times too. That was great.
So in the early years, who are you mostly playing with?
Well, we didn't like our shows have always kind of been sporadic. We never like toured. We've never toured once. Like we've done a few weekend runs later, like in the mid 2010s. We did some weekends. We did with a couple of bands, but we never really had like bands that we ran with or played with a lot. It was just sporadic shows here and there. And then we would get lucky and play on Milwaukee Metal Fest, and that scene we would be able to play on those fests, and that would be our shows. Like, I mean, we weren't really, like I said, a touring band, so we would get to play these shows, and they were the shows for us. They were huge for us, and that's where we would concentrate on during those days. And with a lot of member changes and stuff as you get older, you things get more realistic as far as who can do what. And at this time, we're a little bit more flexible than we were in the past. So depending on how things go with the record, we're able to do a few things, moving and shaking.
So I guess that's a good segue to speak about the record. At the time that we're having this conversation, it's about a month away, but your sixth album is called Molded by Broken Hands, and it'll be out through Profound Lore Records on March 8th. The last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were working on the album. I don't know how much you had finished at that point. What was the status of the album when we spoke a year and a half ago, and when did you actually finish working on this?
If we were talking during the promotion of the Reeking Aura album, which I believe came out in like July. I could be wrong. I usually remember these things, but I think that came out in July. So it was about a year and a half. Yeah. So we were in the middle of recording this album at that time. We started in, I believe, June of the years are just a blur at this point, 2022. And it's a long process because after we had finished the music, I took a couple of months to get the vocals prepared, and we were doing some Reeking Aura touring, things like that was taking my time. So I was on the road writing lyrics in the hotels with my iPad, the headphones on, and trying to get the Gray Sky stuff done while I was on the road with Reeking Aura. And that was cool. I got it done, but it took a few more months. And then when we finished recording, we got it to Mr. Swano, and he's a busy guy, and that takes a little while. And then when it's all done, then the label does their thing, and the promotion does their thing, and then it's strings. It's drawn out a long period. So the album We started it in mid 2022, and now it's coming out in March 2024. So it's a good it's a good process that I'd like to streamline in the future. And I think with our next album, which we've already started writing, we're going to do a better job of demoing, pre-production, I think, things of that nature, where when we get in the studio, it's bang it out. And I'm more prepared myself with vocals, because that usually is the hang up for me. The lyrics, the vocals, I usually wait till last to do that. And I think if we do them now song by song basis, where I get the vocals done each song instead of 8 songs at the end, it'll be better in the long run, and it'll be better for us as far as cranking out material.
So I'm not sure how much we spoke about this when you were on back in 2014 or whatever it was. But do you guys write as a band, or are you working on the music mostly on your own?
In Gray Skies, we generally write in the rehearsal room. Myself or Joe. I mentioned Joe Sanchi earlier, but Joe D'Angelo is our guitar player these days. He's our original guitarist. He's back in the band now. He's been out of the band for a few years. He's back in the band, and this is his first recording with us in 13 or 14 years. Joe played on all the original albums and stuff. So now that he's back, and this last record, the new record was written more in a band environment in the rehearsal room. Joe would bring riffs. Actually, a couple songs he had demos of, and one year was actually a full song that we kind of morphed. So Joe definitely brings a lot to the table with material. But moving forward, we're looking to get back into a rehearsal room situation where we're there as much as possible, as much as we can, and start writing the old school way, which is just jamming. It's cool. Bring your riffs that you write at home and stuff like that, and put songs together at home. And I'm totally down with modern construction of songwriting and how bands do things. We do that in Ricky Mora. So, I'm totally down for that in Gray Skies too, but I definitely like jamming in the room, 4 of us just chilling, coming up with ideas, throwing ideas around in real time.
For a while, you guys were writing over email, right? Like sharing files back and forth.
I don't remember situations because we could have. I mean, there's definitely times we could have done that in the past, but I'm thinking during the Joe Sanchi era, which was like 2013 to 2016, we were jamming a lot, writing together, and then the Cold Dead Lands album, it was me, Tom, and Sal. That was a 3-piece, our last album. And that also was written just us 3 in a room, So maybe over the last 10 years, we've done a better job of doing things together. But yeah, there's definitely times where riffs come in over email and we put them together, and then we just show up and jam them, and they evolve from there.
it's hard to say through the clouds that fill the skies. In the darkest times, I see the light is in your eyes.
It's been 4 years since Cold Dead Lands came out, which is a relatively short period for Gray Skies. Was this an easier album to put together for you guys?
I think so, yeah. And we didn't really, the pandemic kind of clouds things. I think we probably could have done this faster. But like I said, the album process itself from recording to finish to now took a long time. And I like to shorten that up. But we also had to deal with the pandemic, and I look back at our private video stash where we have rehearsals that we refer to, and some of those dates are early 2021. So we were getting back into it, all masked up. Everybody had the masks on. It was crazy to see now, but we were starting probably early 2021 to get most of the album together, and we were recording by early to mid 2022. So it took about a year. And this time, like, I look at right now as the next album. The new album comes out on March 8th, but we're writing the next album, and I want to be ready to record by New Year's. So I want to tighten things up with this band and get an album out every year and a half, more realistically every year and a half to 2 years, because we've never done that. And if we're not on the road all the time, there's no reason why we can't do that. And that's what I'm trying to stress to everybody. And I think we're going forward with that.
How would you compare Molded by Broken Hands to the last couple of Gray Skies albums?
I think it's very similar. I don't want to. Well, it has the same kind of vibe as the last album, but it doesn't sound to me like they're, part A and part B of the same. They sound like two different albums, but you hear the Dan Swano kind of production now, and everything sounds tight, and huge, and is always what I wanted. I've always wanted to work with him, and he's definitely brought a different element to our sound. So I look at this album and the last album as kind of similar, but this one is just more, I don't know, grandiose, or this has shorter songs. So, one may say, oh, they're not epic, it's not as epic or whatever, but I think the shorter songs are better for this album. And it's kind of something that we really haven't. I say shorter songs. The songs are like 6.5 minutes average, so for us, that's short.
Yeah.
One of the singles is about 4.5 minutes. And, but if you go back to the 2014 album, that was a Joe Sanchi album that we did with him. And that one, I really like that album. That's got a very dark sound to it, a very kind of raw sound to it. So that one doesn't really remind me of the new one that much, but the last one does in a way. But it's also so very good to have Joe back, because the last one, it was just me on guitars, and it's great to have Joe back. So I'm very happy about that.
I think in the past you said that Gray Skies is a 2-guitar band, that you need to have that dual guitar thing, like Bride.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to pull it off with the 2 recordings we did with just myself on guitar, Introspective and Cold Deadlands. But, I always want a different voice, somebody to, throw ideas off of, somebody to jam with, things like that. And, it's good to have Joe back. He started the band with me. I always say we started the band in 96, but if you really look at it, we started it in late 95. So you're talking, if you're really being serious, you're almost 29 years. That's a long time, man. And I'm starting to get scared by that. That's starting to intimidate me. Yeah.
So you mentioned Swano, but you recorded the album in New York with Colin, right?
Yes. And this was the first time Gray Skies worked with Colin. So it was, my idea to put Colin and Swano together, which I think was a good idea, because the record sounds great in my opinion. But yeah, we do love recording with Colin, so he's really, and he also played keys. He played guest keyboards on a couple of tracks on the record.
I just spoke with someone who worked with Colin recently, and they said that during the mixing phase, Colin actually added some stuff, some like ambient stuff. He's not just an engineer or
right,
a studio guy. He makes some creative contributions as well.
Yeah, he did that with Ricky Ora as well on the first album. I believe there was a couple of little keyboard things that got thrown in there, and I was like, "Ooh, that sounds really nice." So that guy knows what he's doing. I mean, he's the man. That guy's great.
I mean, you mentioned this is the first time that Gray Skies worked with Colin. Why did you bring it to Colin this time around?
Just familiarity and comfortability from the Ricky Ora sessions. And we were working with him with the demo, and then we did the full length. And I just said let's try Colin this time with Gray Skies and see how it goes with him and Swano together. And we had worked with our engineer Keith Moore as engineer slash producer Keith Moore for 15 years or so. And it's not an easy thing to tell your friend that you're gonna go somewhere else to record, but Keith understands, and we're happy with how it turned out. And actually, we're gonna probably record this summer with Keith, Gray Skies. We're going to do a commemoration of the first album, its 25th anniversary. We're going to re-record 2 songs, and we'll go back to Keith and have Keith record and Swano mix and master those 2 songs, which will be released digitally this summer.
In the past, we spoke about Swano and how you got into Swano through Edge of Sanity and the Manowar cover that they did.
Oh, yeah, I told you that story, huh? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, Swano is such a legend, and he's been involved with so many different things. Mm-hmm. But as far as Gray Skies goes, what were you looking for him to bring to the sound?
Well, this is actually the 3rd time now we've worked with him. He did the last record, Cold Dead Lands, and then we had him remix our 2nd album, Tomorrow's in Doubt. And we were lucky enough to get the original master files, and he remixed that album, and it sounds so good now. So I know I'm a huge fan of the guy. I have, over the years, I've had many high percentage of his releases. A lot of them got lost in the flood, but I'm trying to build all my CDs back. And his stuff is expensive. Let me tell you, Swallow stuff starting to get up there in price. But yeah, he brings, exactly what I want. Like I just let him. I don't even think there was a revision or 2 revisions on the whole album. It's just like, I don't have any notes for him. It's just like, okay, maybe right here, can you just, this particular point, can you just put the delay like a half a second later? And like, that's it. That's the only thing, the only revision I had for him. So it's like perfect. He comes back, his shit's perfect. It's like, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I'm mostly familiar with Swano as a musician. I know he had Unisound for a while, and he produced a lot of that early black metal stuff. But was there anything specific from his work as a producer or his mastering work that you heard and you wanted something like that for Gray Skies?
Well, no, he had his hand in the early Opeth albums, so I always harp on those 2 records, even though I might have requested like he's like, do you want Ghost Reveries kind of sound? And I was like, yeah, okay, just give him like a base kind of starting point, you know what I mean, and then he'll run from there. But over the years, I've always loved his production, and he has a band called Nightingale. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. It's more like a proggy 80s kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I just love the production on that, and all the stuff he does just sounds so good to me. Diabolical Masquerade, those records. Just a lot of stuff.
Did you ever get into the Moon Tower album that he did?
Oh my God, hell yeah, dude! I had that original CD, and I lost that in the flood. And luckily, right now, that CD is going for about $80.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and luckily, I sniped a 7 CD Dan Swano lot on eBay. It had Moon Tower in it. It had some Edge of Sanities. It had Nightingales. It was worth a couple $100, and I got it for $30-something. So I was very lucky. And I'm very happy to have that album back, because that's a great record, man. That's like, I wish he would do a sequel or another record in that style. That 70s kind of proggy synth keyboard with the death metal.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I mean, that's one of my favorite, even early into when I was getting into Edge of Sanity, I found that album. And so that was early into my Swano fandom.
Mm-hmm.
I also got the first 2 Nightingale albums, and when I heard them, I was like, "What is this?"
Right, it's totally different.
I didn't know much about prog at that point, and so like I wasn't expecting, what Nightingale was.
Right. there's a song on the second album, Thoughts from a Stolen Soul. And that's an amazing song. And I told him that I wanted to cover it. There's like a list of songs that I want to cover. Like I want to do like a record, like a covers record or an EP, but that's probably down the line. I don't know how much of a demand there is for it, but I definitely want to do that. And, that was a song that I wanted to do of his, and also on Creation from Moon Tower, I wanted to cover. And I actually started it. I started recording it and just demoing it. And I sent it to him. He's like, nope, that's not gonna. I was like, all right, I'm not covering that song anymore. Like, once a guy tells me like I'm doing something wrong, I'm like, all right, enough, no way. Yeah,
Oh,
everything's
from
got
like a performance side, he was like, the riffs are off.
Yeah, I think it was the way I was picking something like more aggressive. I don't remember the critique, but I remember I was like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. And the other song, the Nightingale song, he was like, oh, it's a very particular tuning, and it's very like particular, here's the. I'm like, well, what's the tuning? And I don't know, it just seemed a little complicated. So I'm like, I'm scared by that. So I just said, let's find an easier song. Great song though. Both of them are great.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of the Moon Tower thing. I was actually trying to get in touch with him to speak about it with me, because I do this thing called The Long 100, where I talk about 100 albums that I feel lucky to have heard. Like stuff that could have just fallen through the cracks, and I just I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, and Moon Tower is one of those albums.
Cool.
You're the only other person I've ever spoken to who likes that album.
Wow.
Or who even knows about that album, honestly.
I mean, a lot of the guys, a lot of the Swano fanboys like me, they know all the Edge of Sanity has, all the, if you're a Swano guy, you know that record, I guess.
When we first met, Gray Skies was self-releasing everything, and you guys were crowdfunding the physical releases. Which was the first album that you did through Profound Lore?
This one. This is the first one. This is our first record that's coming out on a label the day it comes out. And every other one came out by us. You know, it was self-financed, self-released. So this is it's a major thing for us to have happen, to be lucky enough and fortunate enough to be on this amazing label. I'm extremely, extremely grateful and thankful. I don't take anything for granted, and we're going to work extra hard to do good, because, so many amazing bands are on that label. I don't want to be the one that drops the ball and looks the fool. You understand?
Yeah. You had a relationship with the label through Buckshot and Reeking Aura, right?
Well, just with Reeking Aura. Buckshot was not on that label.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, is it a lot less pressure on you now that you don't have to worry about crowdfunding the vinyl and stuff like that?
Well, luckily we only did that one time, and I didn't like doing that. It worked out where I think we raised half of what we needed. So, I probably wouldn't, have done it. I probably wouldn't have done it if I had to do it again. But it was a learning experience. That was the thing at the time, I guess. And we tried it. But now, we had our Cold Dead Lands album almost get put out by a European label. Everything was good to go. I had given them the proofs and everything, and the pandemic hit and it got canceled. So that was a bummer. And once we were able to get with this label, it was my first choice for years. Profound Lore, love it. And yeah, it makes things a lot less concern and stress to deal with. Who's going to put this out? Is anybody going to hear this? So am I wasting my time doing this when 20 people are going to hear this? So you have somebody behind you like that is definitely a great feeling.
So the 6th Gray Skies Fallen album is called Molded by Broken Hands, and it will be out on March 8th through Profound Lore Records. Rick, please tell everyone how they can order the album.
The easiest way to do it would be through our Bandcamp page. Just search Gray Skies Fallen, or search grayskiesfallen.bandcamp.com. And you could buy the vinyl, which looks amazing. Beautiful silver and black with white splatter. It's really, really a striking record itself. That can be ordered. There's a link on there on the Bandcamp, and there's also the CD, which has a bonus track taken from these sessions. It was just a song. It was a situation where it was too long. The record would have been too long for vinyl if that song was on it. So we put it as a bonus track on the CD. Everything can be purchased on the Bandcamp page. That's probably the best bet.
Are you guys going to have a release show when the album comes out?
Right now, unfortunately, we don't have anything on the books. I think it's going to be a matter of the album coming out and maybe hopefully people opening some eyes and saying, yeah, let's get these guys on this or that. We played some good shows the last few years, so we pick our spots. Having a really good release show would have been great, but right now it's not in the plans, but you never know. Something could come along.
Any plans for tours in the summer or festivals or anything like that?
Unfortunately, nothing on the books. Like I said, I think it's a matter of just this having to maybe get some notoriety or, on some ears, and, we're available. Let's put it that way. I'm trying very hard to get back on Milwaukee Metal Fest like we did for 3 years. I would love to play that show again. Jamie Jasta, how you doing? Hit me up. How's it going? All those fests, Maryland Death Fest, we would be honored, and we would love to, play. We would love to do anything. We would roadie. We would roadie for the. No, I'm just kidding. But we want to get in there. We're available. We're ready to rip. Like we're a good live band too, I think, and we really want to show that.
Yeah, I mean we met at a live show, right? You guys did that show with Gwynblade all these years ago.
Oh wow,
that's what we did. I can vouch for 2013.
Yeah.
I can vouch for Gray Skies being a great band live.
I thank you, man. Then we did an interview out in front of Vitus that time. I'm not sure what that was. Were we playing that night? I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember who you were playing with, but I think I was in town for a wedding, and I saw you guys were playing, and so we we scheduled something and we did the interview in your car. So that ended up being this was the old days before I had you know, a Yeti mic. So I was using this like cheap like Sony MP3 recorder thing, the old DIY run and gun days.
How it goes. How you earn your stripes.
So you mentioned re-recording some old songs for the 25th anniversary. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, the 25th anniversary of our debut album, which actually came out March 12th, 1999, which is 4 days after this record is coming out. So it's almost to the day. It just didn't line up quite right, but that would have been cool. So we're going to redo 2 songs from that album. The first track, which is track 1 on that album, is called The Purest Form. That song was on some compilations back in the day, and it got some airplay and things. So people from 99 that know of us will know that song. So we're going to redo that song. We play it at every show too. And we're also going to do a song called Athena from that album, which we're going to bring our old keyboard player Craig back for that. He's going to play guest keys on that. And this gentleman named Ben Karras, who played on our new record, he played strings amazingly. This guy's an incredible musician. We're going to bring him in to do Athena. So The Purest Form is going to be more stripped down, and Athena is going to be more like epic. I hate using that word, but it's going to be more, of that nature. So can't wait to do that. It's just going to be a little fun thing we're going to put out digitally and later in the summer, probably.
You mentioned Craig. Craig isn't part of the lineup anymore, but he still does videos and stuff for you guys, right?
Yeah. We actually brought him the last time we played at St. Vitus. We played with Oceans of Slumber, and we brought Craig back. We played 2 songs with him. Athena was one of those songs. Actually, for anybody interested, there's the YouTube video that's from that video, September of 2022. There's the full set from our show. And actually, both of those songs are on that video. And Craig playing guest keys live also is on that video. So you can get an idea of what we're going to do. And we've changed things around in those songs in the last 25 years a little bit. So they sound a little bit, they're going to be heavier and better. And I'm really psyched to do that. It's just like a little weird throwaway thing, kind of, just for fun. But I'm really excited about that. So I just love to record. And as far as Craig, he does our videos. Yes, he's really gotten good with that lately. It's become a passion of his, so he's really good at that. He's helped us out on this album considerably with that. And he also has a band called Drift Into Black, which is really good, and that's his thing. And he's been doing that. He's got a bunch of records out with that band too. So everyone could go check those out. Those guys out too.
Very cool. I mean, we spoke about how it's been almost 30 years since you formed Gray Skies. Is there anything else you want to do with this band? Any goals that you haven't accomplished yet?
Yeah, like I was saying, I want to get back to festival level like we were when I was 23 years old. It's a hard pill to swallow when you're playing these huge shows and legendary shows that people still talk about 25 years later. When you're a kid, and I think it might be in grasp again now that we have an amazing label behind us and a vehicle to put out music and people can hear it. And so I'm hoping, some people with the abilities to get us on some fest can do that. And those are the goals. Like I'd like to crank out quality music every year and a half to 2 years moving forward until I can't do it anymore. I had spinal fusion surgery. I have some nerve damage in my arm. I have a torn labrum and torn rotator cuff in my right shoulder. That's my picking shoulder, so I'm a little beat up, but I'm going to do it like as long as I can. And the bigger the shows, the better the shows, the better the fests, the more vigor I'm going to have and keep doing this. Cause we persevered for a long time, and it would be kind of shitty to stop now before really accomplishing what we want to do. We want to make a little bit more of an impact, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people want to follow Gray Skies online, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I hate Facebook, but there's a Facebook and, there's an Instagram, all the social medias. We're at Gray Skies Phone everywhere. I guess more active on Instagram, But the Bandcamp is the best way to get to purchase anything. There's a link tree. If you search Gray Skies Fallen Doom, all one word, you'll see all the links related to the new album, the singles where you can order the CD, the vinyl in the US, in Europe, overseas, So all the links are there on the link tree. And that link is also on our Instagram. So the Instagram page has all the pertinent information as well.
Very cool. Is there anything else you want to say? Or do you want to say anything about the other projects that you have?
Well, real quick, Reeking Aura, we're in the middle of writing the next album. We would love to record that album within the next 6 to 8 months. And my other band project with Tom Anderer from Gray Skies and Reeking Aura is Brave the Waters. And that's more of an ambient instrumental kind of thing. And we're in the middle of recording album number 3 for that. And Buckshot Facelift may be emerging from the swamp pretty soon. So there may be some news about that band too, which is cool because that kind of just ended, without any pomp. And we had a really good record in 2016 we put out called Ulcer Island, which I think got overlooked. And I would love for people to check that album out. Yeah. It's kind of like unfinished business with that band, I think.
That was a great album. And that was a great band too.
Yeah, thanks. I joined that band late, myself and Terrell. Terrell is also in Reeking Aura, and of course Will. But we joined that band late in like 2012, and we did 2 recordings, Living Ghosts of the North Shore, and we did Ulcer Island. And actually, Paragon Records is going to be releasing all of our mine and Terrell's material with Buckshot on cassette very soon. So that's also another cool thing that's coming out. Ulcer Island and Living Ghosts of the North Shore EP, as well as another EP called Buck at the Moon that we did. And that's all going to be on a cassette. Pretty cool release.
Very cool. Since we're speaking about anniversaries and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
You were one of the first guys to reach out to me, before any PR companies knew who I was, before any record labels knew who I was. And, we've been speaking about music, this whole time, almost as long as I've been doing this podcast. And, shortly after I resurrected the blog, or I guess resurrected the name James of Consciousness, which was the name of a webzine that I used to do. And it's been cool, man. Like, to see
evolution.
Yeah. I mean, to be in touch and to see you guys keep doing music and see all the new projects coming out. And, especially now to see you on Profound Lore, because I remember the crowdfunding and the DIY days.
Yeah.
And it's always cool for me to see my friends' bands and, the people who were there for me in the beginning, to see them do well. You know what I mean? Yeah,
man. That's great to hear.
I bust balls sometimes about you guys, you and Will being big time now, because we've got all these like record labels and press agents and stuff like that to go through. Back in the day, it was just Will giving me a CD. You remember that?
Yeah, of course. You can always hit me up directly and just hit me up, man. That's how we roll, you and me, man. So anytime you need something, you just hit me up through email and we'll get it done. We're a big fan of you guys, man, and of you and what you do. And, I very much appreciate the continued support that you give.
Yeah, man. Open invitation. Anytime you have a new album, just hit me up. We'll set something up.
Cool, man. Yeah, maybe we'll do some Brave the Waters chat or something. I'll send you some songs that we're working on. I don't know if you heard that stuff we've done in the past, but it's definitely different than this kind of stuff.
It's almost like your Nightingale, right? Like it's very like low key and kind of somber.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a post rock kind of like a melodic, somber kind of. Travis Smith artwork on that stuff too. So yeah, he's we got to get him back. I got a lot of work for that guy. I love it. I love giving him work.
Very cool.
So, yep.
Thanks so much, Rick.
Hey man, thank you. And look forward to talking to you again one day.
Overcome with power, it speaks to how they beyond.